Greetings, friends. It's Palms. This reflections for Palm Sunday. It's hard to believe that we've made it this far. Even in the opening prayer that will be said by the priest at the beginning of the Palm Sunday Mass, before he proclaims the gospel account of Jesus entering Jerusalem. He reminds us that we have been preparing for this moment since Ash Wednesday, when, if you remember on Ash Wednesday, you made a commitment that you were going to give up this, but at the same time you want to add something to it. Hopefully it was more time to pray. It was also more time to detach yourself from the things that surround you. Now, granted, it's not to completely give up chocolate or food or whatever that case is, but it's also to maybe step away from scrolling on social media all the time and use that moment to pray. And I think that's something that many of us seem to have done over the years. We have, and especially the times where we have fallen off the tracks of our faith journey, we have chosen to do what's called the doom scroll on social media. We have done things where we don't take the time to slow down and listen to God's voice. Instead, we listen to our own voice. But even St. Paul reminds us in the letter for Palm Sunday is that even though Christ was in human form, he exalted himself, taking on human flesh. And was willing to accept his destiny, which was to be crucified for each and every one of us. When we look at the Passion account for Matthew, I feel like there are three things that really stand out to me, and hopefully they stand out to you. First off, we look at Judas Iscariot becoming the first Catholic to leave after receiving communion. And I'm sure it's a pet peeve for many of you. Believe me, I get really frustrated when I see people. Why can't you just stay for at least 5 more minutes? Give thanks for receiving Jesus and receive the final blessing from the priest or bishop. It doesn't hurt. And if you're one of those people, do not consider this a judgment towards you. But I'm asking you, can you just wait 5 minutes before you leave church? Because believe when I tell you, Mass does not end the moment you receive Jesus on the tongue or on however you receive him. But I hope you receive him with great reverence. And never ever treat communion that you receive it as bubblegum or some kind of food. And every time we receive Jesus, he asks us to do this in memory of him. He wants us to share him with others, especially those that we encounter every day. Friends, as we embark on this final week of, well, technically we'll be going into the Passion Tide, but as we are drawing our Lenten journey to a close, let's not forget what the main purpose of our lives are. We are not to be of this world, but we are to be citizens of the city of God. The other thing to keep in mind too is that the apostles fell asleep 3 times when Jesus went out to pray after requesting that they stay awake. We shouldn't be doing that. And I think for many of us, perhaps we have done this in our Lenten journey, in which we have used the time where we could have prayed a little extra, to scroll through social media, to to gossip or send a text message. We could have maybe pick up a phone call and ask, they talk to that person, like, hey, how's everything? Surely, I know you can put that 1 hour somewhere during the day where you pray. You do your prayer routine on a prayer app or however you guys roll. But use that time to talk to God. Share with Him what is on your heart. I see prayer as dialogue. But every time you read His Word, God talks to you. And there's a two-way street here. The final thing, and I think many of us are seeing this quite a bit, Jesus was willing to become a holy victim for all of us. He fulfilled what many of the prophets have foretold. One thing that really strikes me in the Passion account is when Pilate wanted to wash his hands clean of Jesus. And far too often we have people in the society that want nothing to do with the problems in the world. Whether it be the transgender shooter that shot up 6 people in Nashville, and people are like, oh, I don't want to get involved with this. I don't want to offend people. Or when we're not really speaking up well enough of defending God's moral laws, when the culture of death is winning. Oh, I'm afraid to speak up. No excuses. You have a job to do, friends. And our job is to fulfill the works of mercy, to proclaim the truth. Even if we get rejected, we get ridiculed and mocked by people who claim that we can trust. Look at Jesus. From Palm Sunday to Good Friday, much changed. He was greeted with palms. He was greeted like he was the king. And days later, he became a holy victim, all because he loved us. As we finish our Lenten journey and heading to the tide and eventually the Easter season, my friends, be assured of my prayers for you. Lay everything out just as Jesus did in the Garden of Gethsemane. Pray. Pray. Most importantly, give it all to God. Lay it before His feet. God bless you.